Well, it's been about 8 months since I've been a state representative, and it's taken me all this time to get familiar with the Capitol. One area though that I have not gone to is the Dome. And up above me, we're about to do a tour of the Dome itself, an inside look of what the inside part of the Capitol looks like. So we're going to take a video, we're going to go inside, and I was fortunate enough to bring a few of my friends with me, and we're going to take a look and see what's inside the Dome.
First opened in 1879. It was used a little bit differently than what it is today. Today it's pretty much strictly a legislative office building, for the House and Senate and some select members of the House and Senate, for office space and the governor. Back then, pretty much all the departments of the state of Michigan were headquartered in this building. If you worked for the state of Michigan, you pretty much worked in the Capitol. Nowadays we have over 40,000 state employees, so there's not room enough for all of them in the building. But back then, the Attorney General would have been headquartered here, the Adjutant General, the Secretary of State, the Supreme Court, the Legislature, the State Treasurer's office was actually in the area we just started the tour in. In fact, down the South Hall, the ground floor was an arsenal that was under the command of the state armorer, and they actually kept weapons, and ammunition, Gatling guns, right in the Capitol itself. Most of our visitors, probably 9 out of 10 of our visitors, like to lie on their backs when they're in the rotunda, so they can get a kind of an unobstructed view of the Dome above. Plus, you don't lose your balance when you're laying on your backs looking up. It's 160 feet from the tips of your noses up to where the stars are above us. That's called the Inner Dome. And there's a second dome that rises above the stars about another 100 feet. So it's a total of 267 feet from the ground to the very top of the Capitol. Come right up close here if you like. We try to kind of protect the office by not bringing all of our tour groups into it, but this viewing door gives you a nice opportunity to take a peek into the governor's office. You can see Governor Rick Schneider's desk and chair beyond the double doors there. The governor has another office across the street where most of his staff are headquartered. This room tends to be used more for formal occasions these days, for bill signings and press conferences. The furniture around the edge of the room, the lady table, we call the lady table, the very fancy piece behind the red rope there. The console on the far wall, and I think probably by far one of the prettiest pieces in the building, this sideboard on the left side, were all built by a Saginaw, Michigan furniture company. That company is still in business today. Michigan produced more furniture when our Capitol opened than any state in the nation. So this is kind of a reminder of our furniture making past.
Well, this is the part of the tour I've been waiting for. This is the part that I haven't seen. When we sit on the House floor and we look up, we see glass, we see etchings, but I don't know what's on the other side of those etchings. We're going to find out now. Come on.
Okay, so we're above the House chamber right now in what we call the sunroom, or the attic area, the House chamber. You're looking at is kind of some of the mechanical aspects of the building. This is the ventilation system for the House chamber. It was a real challenge taking a large space like that and appropriately heating and cooling it. This system won an engineering award for its ingenuity during the restoration. What they've basically done is they've elevated each glass panel slightly, connected ventilation tubes around that gap, that bead, and then they force air through those tubes to help circulate air in the chamber. The first two capitals for Michigan, the Detroit Capitol and the first Lansing Capitol, it was a temporary building. It was a couple blocks south of here. Horrible places to work, really drafty in the winter, stifling hot in the summer. In fact, one of the areas in the old House of Representatives in the first Lansing Capitol, they called the dying corner, because they said just about every new rep that got a desk in that part of the House ended up dying before his term of office was complete. So when this was built, don't get a desk in that corner.
What we're going to do now is we're going to take the final ascent to the top of the dome, and if we look up here, there's a set of rails that we're going to have to walk halfway or 2/3 of the way around and go through what he called a guillotine door. We're going to have to climb underneath. We're going to climb up along where those windows are and come up to the final portion, which we're going to go to the outside. And if we go all the way to the top, you can see where the stars are. We're going to be up above those stars. Well, this is the second level.
This is we refer to as the 5th level up from the 4th floor, and then next level up.
I see we're just above the painted ladies we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
And then from here we go inside the skin of the dome.
Yep.
A lot of people get nervous because of the rail, and the cameraman, Mike, is a little bit nervous, but really there's nothing really to be nervous about. On the inside of the skin of the dome, this is I'm probably 10 steps up, and the rest of the group is probably about 50 feet ahead of me, and we're still only partially the way up. So we're going to keep going up now.
So what we're looking at is the inner dome right here. The stars are painted sort of on a big cereal bowl that's been flipped upside down and is hanging from these rods and cables to the exterior dome. The glass partition, the wall that you see, is environmental control. That's to keep the cool air in the building during the summer and the hot air out, and then vice versa during the winter. Just beyond this railing, though, on what we call the apron, that kind of about foot wide piece of pressed tin, there's a pipe, and that was part of the original gas lighting system. The gas jets were actually hooked to that pipe. To totally illuminate a building like this with gas was just an incredible feat at the time. Back then, if you were fortunate enough to have gas in your house, you might have, maybe one burner, in your kitchen, or maybe one in your bedroom. But to take a total building like this and completely illuminate it was just an incredible thing. In fact, the first day the building officially opened to the public was January 1st, 1879. They had a big party in the Capitol, a ball that evening. And the people that were organizing the party were really excited because they got a really heavy snowfall 2 days before, and they said it made excellent sleighing weather, and all the farmers would be able to sleigh into Lansing to see the Capitol. One of the gentlemen that had come to the party after the evening event walked back to his boarding home in Lansing, and it had started to snow. And he said in a letter he wrote about it, he said something possessed him to turn around and look back at the Capitol through the falling snow. It totally illuminated with gas all the way to the lantern, and he said it looked like a mountain of fire. And he claimed it was one of the most incredible things he'd ever seen in his whole life, just to see this beautiful building. The people of Michigan called this the Lion of Lansing. And it was just a tremendous feat to have this building open. And they anticipated its opening for 6 years, when it was being built. So it's a really big deal.
Nobody would ever believe you could illuminate a building, particularly nowadays with gas.
No. Totally, like I said, just an incredible feat. This was really, to the people of Michigan, almost just a wonder, when it first opened.
Oh, sure. It's a wonder
and it
today.
Still is. Yeah, it still is.
So just to show you, if we back up a little bit here, we can take a look at the bowl that he was referring to. Just back up here, and you see how it's held up by cables from the inside. That blue stars that we were looking at earlier looks like it's part of the building, but it's not. It's the final ascent to the actual cupola of the dome. And you can see everyone's going up this final ladder that we've got to climb. And as the tour guide was explaining just a minute ago, this was actually used, parts of the dome here were used as a playground for kids years ago when they were babies. Not just here, but also in the office buildings. Today, this is all closed to the public, but we're going to take our final climb right now. We'll get some great shots of Lansing from up above. We're starting to head down the stairs from the cupola that we're in right now, where we have probably one of the best views in all of Lansing. Of course, the better view would be looking at us up here. If we look out just the back window here, this is out the west side of the Capitol. You can see the Hall of Justice. And as we go around that way, you can see the House Office Building. If we keep going around the different churches, and of course there's the House Office Building where the House of Representatives have their offices. All the representatives have an office that face the Capitol, and all the offices are the same size. Right next to us is the Lansing City Hall. Of course, the tall building across from the Capitol is the Bogie Tower. Between this and the Capitol, you can see the skyline from the highway. And right next to the Bogie Tower is, I believe that's the Senate office building. That's the Farnham building, which is the greenish tint to the glass. Yeah, what I skipped over when I saw the Bogie Tower, I missed the governor's office building, executive office building, straight across the street from the Capitol. And of course, right next to that is Michigan Avenue, which heads straight out to Michigan State University, where all my money is going right now for my daughter that was climbing down the stairs. What an exciting tour we had up to the top of the dome here at the state capitol. And I got to tell you, I had a little bit of a queasy need, I admit right now. Going up and down those stairs, it was quite a long walk to the very, very top. But I wanted to get a quick observation as to what everyone else felt about this.
It's a little bit of a thrill ride getting up and down the ladders, but the stories are just as good as the view. Hearing the things that the painters did and the people who did even the steel work, making sure their name is there where you can see it. There's so much history there.
Little tidbits that you don't normally see. How about you, Sue?
I'm anxious to read more about the history of Michigan and about the architecture of this building. Things that just absolutely stimulate the imagination, and can't wait for you to learn more.